Welcome, everyone. This is the Bold Women Podcast. My name is Maria Weiler, and I am here with my dear friend, Meryl Wilson.
It is I.
It is you. I was going to try to think of a nickname for you to throw in there, but we've got a good topic today, and we're going to be real honest. We recorded this one a while ago, never launched it, and then we're like, we need to re-record because...
Yeah, it was from many moons ago.
And
So
we just
here
have different thoughts and different things on it, so...
We
Today,
figured, hey, we won't release that because I don't even know what I said.
I don't even know what I said. So here we go.
Yeah, but first
Redo.
of all,
But first,
social media, we're on it. In case you didn't know that, we're going to tell you every episode until you start following us. Or you don't. So yeah, you can send us voice notes on Spotify.
all the things.
We have some random poll questions. You can hit us up in our DMs in basically any social media platform, but I really won't pay any attention to...
Use Instagram.
Yeah, I use Instagram. I handle the Instagram one once. You guys, I got too many accounts.
If anybody wants to manage our accounts for free, let us know.
Yeah, if you're new and you want to get into social media management, let's chat.
Yeah, we totally would do. We are up for help. Because
what is this? Byron's trying to show me how cool his TikTok is, with all of his followers and whatever. And I am over you, Byron.
Byron's been super successful today, and we are here for it. But
we're here for it, but we're a little jelly,
little salty of all the flavors we could
Byron's
be.
podcast called "Let's Get to the Bottom of That," where you can usually find it at bottom of that, whatever. Has
little
just
blue logo.
What do they have? Good job, guys. You hit 106,000 plays of your episodes.
Sheesh.
Pretty dope.
So dope.
Yeah. So if you're into conspiracy stuff, you should probably listen to that.
Take a gander.
Maybe that's what we're here for, is to just, give props to every other podcast so that we can boost all their ratings.
Yeah. Maybe you should talk about ours, Byron. Just kidding.
We'll be over here with
We'll be over here
with our strong and steady and consistent
Let's go.
base that we dearly love.
Yes, we do. Thank you, guys.
But girls and 7% guys, you have got to step it up. Share us.
Please
Tag us in your story,
all
in your
things.
Stories.
Wow.
I don't know.
All of it.
I'm starting to get a little desperate.
But for real though, if you want to help manage some social media stuff for free,
I don't
holler.
think that's gonna happen, but
you'd have not because you asked
things
not.
have happened. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, this will be an embarrassing episode to re-listen to.
Yeah,
so we might as well just get on to the topic today.
Perfect.
What is it, Maria?
Rejection.
Oh, well, here we are.
Rejection.
Look at us. We just
Talking about rejection.
look,
It's like a baseball on a tee.
wallowing in our pool of self-pity over our podcast.
This is real time. And I am laughing with what Meryl and I have gone through this week at the time of this, where I am
Too much. This has been too much of a week.
This has been too much of a week. I am ready for, I don't even know, but
I need a vacation.
I do too. Italy? Let's go.
Somewhere.
Okay, so we're kind of going to overview rejection in professional setting, friendships, romantic relationships. Rejection can happen all across the board, and it can stir up a whole host of things like worry, anxiety, disappointment, discouragement, and the list goes on. Rejection, I feel like personally, is one of the biggest emotions and things that the enemy uses to throw us off track and push us further from our purpose and relationship with God and our relationship with people. I feel like fear of rejection can get us funky with people too.
Mm-hmm.
But so we'll dive into some questions.
Yeah, why not?
What did your parents teach you about rejection growing up? Or what did you come to learn about it as you grew up?
I don't know that I learned much.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I learned that it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was just not to say that my parents weren't encouraging or loving or supportive, if I ever went through a hard time or whatever, but because I remember a lot of times where it would be I don't know, girls are the worst in school growing up. So I don't know. My mom would say stuff like, Meryl, they're just acting like that because they're jealous of you. You're like really pretty and yada, 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 you know, as every mom says to their daughter in such a lovely and amazing way. And I was like, cool, thanks, Mom. And in my head, I was like, no, just, it's not it.
And I know the phrase like rejection is God's protection. Like you hear that. And I know it's true.
It's so cliche.
It's so cliche.
Everyone hates it, especially when you're going through it.
When you're going like, through it, it hurts so bad. Well, and I think there's a difference. I feel like professional rejection is easier to process than like relational.
Oh, heck yeah.
Because professional, I'm kind of like, all right, cool, that job wasn't for me then.
Dude, I'm in such a different, I wish I was in the same place relationally with people in my personal life as I was in terms of dealing with rejection, like in my professional life.
100% agree.
In my professional life, my mentality is, oh, the worst thing they're going to tell me is no.
Right. Okay.
Or forget it.
Yeah.
And okay, well then I'll just come back if I have a better plan and maybe, you know, change how I approach the situation or whatever. I mean, I'm going to get what I want or I'll find a way around it at some point. You know, I'll figure out something.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think too, I'm thinking of a couple interviews that I had to go when I remember going through it, and it was a super long interview, and I walked out of there being like, I know I didn't get it. I just knew. I knew that they drilled me with questions, but I knew that they already had in mind who they wanted the role to be. So I was a little bit like,
isn't that so
why
irritating?
why are you interviewing me anyways? But at the same time, when I knew I didn't get it, I was kind of relieved. And I think, that same side of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Professionally, it is. I feel like it's one of those things of like, well, that's probably not a job for me then.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I look at what they have to do now. I'm like, thank God I didn't get that job. But like, I just feel like for some reason, professionally, it's so much easier than when it comes to like friendships and romantic. And I don't know if it's because it's like the people, it's more so people you love compared to just, okay, you're here. I'm here to do a job and that's it. Like I'm trying to choose you compared to, let me put in this application, hopefully get through. I don't know. It's that. Go.
I have a story, and I'm pretty sure I told this in the first recording of this.
But we don't know, so you can say.
I'm pretty sure I did because I think I remember talking about it. But otherwise, it's in another episode that I haven't listened to in a while. That's already out there. So if this is the second time you're hearing this, then just cool your
buckle
jets
up
for a few minutes. All right. Okay. But it was just making me think of like, what did you come to learn about it when growing up? Here's what I learned about it. It was, I didn't take it well at all when I was younger. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember I had been disagreeing with some of my girlfriends. I think I was in like 5th grade, I want to say. Mm-hmm. So I was in the horrible brick middle school building.
That had no air. Guys, our middle school, where Meryl and I went to middle school, had no air.
No air and steps for like
days,
5 or 6 stories. Yeah. So you can imagine on a nice warm day, no air conditioning, nothing.
And old brick building too.
Climbing your way to the top floor at the end of the day after lunch.
And my dad worked there for like 40 some years. I was like, I don't know how you did it, Dad.
That. I don't know either.
Anyways, good.
So anyway, we're out at recess. My friends were mad. I don't even remember the reason why they were like mad or whatever, but I knew there was conflict. Okay.
Right.
So we're like, oh, let's like play soccer or whatever. And so of course they go through group of girls and they're picking, people to be on their teams, right?
Right.
This is also going to say, remember that I was in 5th grade. Okay. So this was my mentality.
Okay.
I was the last one to be picked, and guess what?
Huh.
The team that I got put on was all of the, how do I politely say, the very non-athletic girls who just wanted to play because they wanted to like, have fun or be friends with other girls.
Yeah.
Were cliquey. That's what they were, and they were annoying. So I knew that they were intentionally doing that to me, and I was really mad. So
did you let them have it?
I screamed out that they were all a bunch of mother effers. And you know what happened?
You got in trouble?
One of those little yahoos freaking told on me. They told on me. And it wasn't until like it was after lunch. I was already in like the next period or whatever. And I got 2 hours of detention for it.
Ooh.
Yeah. Apparently, kids don't get detention anymore.
What?
Yeah. Okay.
That was...
Hold on. We'll sidebar that for 1 second. We'll come right back to it because...
Oh.
Okay. So
anyways,
if you are younger and you don't know what detention is, it's basically you have to stay after school, probably in a room with a teacher you don't like.
100%.
And you don't get to do it all at once because they do it for as long as they have time for. So it's like you could do 30 minutes after school. You could do 45. So you could be doing this like 3 or 4 days in a row where like the end of your day is like, you don't get to go home. You have to go to detention. Or you're late to sports. What if you're in a sport?
Yeah.
And then you get in trouble there. So then you have to do like extra sprints
because you were in detention.
Extra exercises because you're in detention and you were late showing up for practice. So you had to do all of that. And it was really irritating. It's a very, So we actually got in trouble when we did things in school. And at the time, my mom was the school nurse at the elementary school. So after school, this was the first day, like when I got in trouble. So my detention hadn't started yet. So I walked down to the elementary school because it wasn't too far. It was like a block away or whatever. And I go into her office. I'm just waiting for her to finish up her day. And I just started crying because I was like, I don't know how to explain this to my mom. I don't know how to tell her that I am in trouble. So she's like, what's going on? And I was just crying. And I was like, my friends are so mean to me. And so then I kind of tell her what happened. And I was like, except I changed the story, of course.
Of course.
Naturally, to lessen the blow. So my mom was like, all right, like, tell me what's going on. You know, what happened? And I was like, they were so mean and they picked me last. And you knew that I've been fighting with these girls and they were just not being nice to me and whatever. And so they did this. They put me on the team with girls I didn't want to be on a team with. And so I called them the B word. And
which you didn't.
And they went and tattled on me and I got 2 hours of detention for it. And my mom was like, I don't remember her exact response, but I know she was like, oh, honey, like you really need to be like watching your mouth. We don't say things like that. And she's like, all right, well then you're just going to do your detention and you're going to not call people names anymore, are you? And I was like, no, I'm not, I promise. And sorry, Mom, if you ever listen to this podcast again. Yeah, I lied.
It wasn't the B word.
It was not the B word. It was worse, but I could not bring myself to tell my mom that I said a word so foul, that I said something so foul to somebody.
She never found out?
No.
Well,
my mom's
not until
never
right
found-
now.
Not until now, until she hears this. But I don't know that she'll ever hear it. So who's to say? Who's to say? But anyway. Yeah.
Okay, when you were talking about the middle school, I had a different but similar experience. We probably were in the school at the same time. The building.
Yeah, because you were.
While this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
So this was, I remember it was underneath the basketball court. Let's talk about rejection from that middle school building if we want to, since we're on that. And I remember a kid named Justin came up to me. You're going to remember, I won't say his last name, but you're going to remember who.
Two are popping into my mind.
B.
Dark hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I see where this is going. Keep going. Mm-hmm. I know just the person.
Yeah. I just don't want to put him on blast because.
Well, you already are.
Well, I mean.
Justin, you know who you are.
You know who you are. But I remember he came up to me under the basketball hoop and he was like, Maria, you're pretty. And I said, thanks. And he goes, pretty ugly. And then he ran off. And I remember it
Jerk.
it made it hurt. I mean, you're what, 6th grade when that happens? 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah. And he was like kind of cute.
He was kind of cute at the time and kind of cool. And I remember just being like devastated. I went down. There was like a little ramp that went into the gym. It was like a little alley and a ramp.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I just remember I went down there and just cried until recess was over.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
I get violent. Maria does not. She cries.
I cry. Meryl fights. You know, you can, if you haven't
I'll
been able
show
to,
you.
you haven't seen our personalities come out, for example, look at these two stories. Perfect. But the
yeah, he would have. Byron, if you're gonna add commentary, you need to speak it in the microphone because it's hilarious. All right, he's just waving me off. Yeah, okay, but hold on. Can we go back to the sidebar about detention?
yes,
So
because
let me tell you,
this is outrageous. Go ahead.
I found this out because one of my employees was telling me about her grandson, 12 years old, and she got called by the school, and she was like, he just can't stay awake. He's been we couldn't even really get him to wake up to go to the next class when the class, like, he's sleeping that hard. And so we're going to send him home. Somebody needs to come get him. And she was like, excuse me? Like, I'm at work.
Mhm.
So does he have a fever? And is he like,
Is he throwing up?
is he ill? And they were like, no, he's just sleepy. And he just said he's just really tired. Well, come to find out, she said that when her husband ended up going to go pick him up, and he asked him, like, what's going on? Why are you sleeping? What's going on? Oh, I think maybe I was on my phone a little too late last night.
Oh.
So you get sent home to what? Chill out and not have to deal with teachers? They don't do. And I said, that would have gotten us detention if we were falling asleep.
Oh my gosh. And it would have been hours.
And she goes, yeah, they don't do detention anymore. And I was like, what?
What?
At least not in the school district up north.
I remember
of the city where we're at.
My detention. Believe it or not, guys, I cried when I got it.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
I mean, I did too, but I was like more mad than I got tattled on.
I was more like, my parents are going to hate me. My dad's a teacher in the school. I can't do this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I get it.
But I was in a Spanish class. And
it was like from our town. I was like an implant of sorts, but at a young age. Apparently that makes a difference. Though.
Oh, apparently.
It does.
But this class was awful. And it wasn't even in the class. Spanish.
Little Espanol.
In junior high, and I walked out of the class, did not know the teacher was behind me in the hallway. And I said, man, that class sucked. And then she tapped me on my shoulder, and I turned around. She said, you got detention. For being in the hall saying that.
Saying her class sucked.
Yeah. I was a little like, get freedom of speech.
Okay, well,
I wasn't in your class.
Maybe it would suck less if you. I think I know which teacher you're talking about too. Well, maybe it would have sucked less if she would have played Camarero on Fridays. Also,
but she didn't.
She did not.
That is the best music video of all time. For anyone who wants to know, YouTube Camarero by what is it? Not Miguel. Enrique something.
That's so funny.
I want to go with him for Halloween this year.
You want to know what the 90s, early 2000s was like? For some reason, this video
wraps it all up in one.
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because it's like I don't even know what country the guy's from. South of the border somewhere. Maybe even the next continent south. But it's funny how like culturally they're so different, but it's the same. Also,
yeah, or like what always gets me in the video is the turtle with drinks on its back, like just little things like that, and the towels that spell out his name on the beach. His dance moves.
It's too much. Okay, if you don't know what we're talking about, you need to look it up.
Google it. All right,
back to the topic.
Back to rejection. Since Meryl and I experienced it at such a young age, but
quite a lot of it, though.
Quite a lot of it, and I think there's this piece where, I know you and I've had conversations now about how there's this, like, especially like when deep rejection happens, and not that some rejection isn't hard, and sometimes it like helps us build backbone, right? Like not everybody's going to like you, not everybody's going to agree with you, but there's this piece when it's like when someone close to you rejects you, or someone that should be deeply like woven with you. Example, like our ex-husbands, right?
Yeah.
So when somebody in like that place rejects you in the spot of like, this is supposed to be unconditional, quote unquote, like what kind of wounds that leaves and how deep those are. And we were talking about this the other day, like how a bruised bone, Like you can't see, but that thing lingers. And when you get hit with it, you know, like,
yeah, it took a long while for me to even acknowledge that, because I think that just, I think I didn't want to accept that on some level that was rejection.
Yeah.
That happened. And like, yeah, it took me, I remember the tears I shed over phone calls with you once I came to that realization. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was just me texting you. Here's what happens. I usually send Maria like a text of where my mindset's at. And then after so many text messages, she then just calls me. And then I'm usually silent because I'll start crying, because I have a really great friend that speaks life into me and encourages me and calls out like, okay, I know what's happening. This is what's happening. And you feel this, don't you? And I'm like, yeah.
Probably because I felt it last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there's this piece where, well, and I remember, shout out to Philip, check out our Ask the Counselor episodes, but he was telling me that the number one, like the core need of a human being is to be unconditionally known or unconditionally loved.
Mm-hmm.
And to be like, that is like within every single human being, we have that clearly created in us so that we could be unconditionally loved by our creator. But he even said to be unconditionally loved, you have to be unconditionally known. And that's where you can start to bring rejection in. Like if somebody knows something about me that they don't want, I'm out. And how scary that can be in creating vulnerability. And I was getting ready to go someplace with it, but I just lost it.
Okay.
But anyways, I just thought that's like this idea of sometimes we do try to get so much of our value from people, when like my unconditional love aspect has to come from Christ, even in dating, even in marriage, of the side of my husband is not going to be perfect all the time and isn't going to love me perfectly well all the time. And in all honesty, will probably reject me at some points in time, not purposefully, but in like just in living and being imperfect. He's not going to prioritize everything right all the time. So I'm going to feel that way, especially coming from like wounds of, and like, I know I've said this to you too, because at some point in time I get where I'm like, well, at some point they're just going to walk away and be done because my emotions are going to be too much. Mm-hmm. So I'm prepped for that just in case that happens.
Which is no way to live.
Because
then you're not really allowing yourself to experience what's going on right here and right now, because you're too focused on the potential for hurt and keeping barriers up then. So if you're doing that, then you're really not well, of course you're not helping yourself out, but you're not allowing that person to really see an authentic, like you,
exactly,
your most authentic self or whatever.
I remember you
like
said
who
something
you are at your core.
You said something to me about that. This was last year, a couple years ago, about that, of like, well, wouldn't you want the person to see you at that? Because you can't not be that your whole life. Like that's miserable.
Right. You can't avoid that.
You can't avoid that. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. They need to see
They need to see that. Like if I'm in genuine relationships, can they handle this? Because this is and this is where I'm at right now. I might not stay here, but this is where I'm at right now. Yeah. One thing I think when you were talking about how you called crying, realizing like with rejection, one of the things that I remember like I struggled with was feeling like, oh man, if I still feel rejected, then I'm not healed enough to try to get in, like to enter into something different.
Yeah.
And how like fighting that. And like this, it could be years later where it's like, I feel good, or it's like, I have to feel good and I have to like not deal with this anymore. So I can try relationship again. And
that's also good though, to like be that self-aware, like to be self-aware to the point to,
sorry, I knew that was gonna she was watching my hand. I was trying to set it down so quiet.
Back on her Yeti.
That's why Meryl has a straw.
Yeti, sponsor us. Stanley, you can too.
You can too. We'll take cups.
Just saying. We'll take some cups and mugs and some fun stuff. Okay, anyway. Okay, question for you. And I want to modify this just a smidge.
Yeah.
Okay. Speaking of like dating and stuff, what is the worst way you think that you've been romantically rejected? And I've got three options rather than just two, because I have two listed, saying, is it someone expressing like just telling you straight up that they're not interested? Is it getting friend zoned? Or is it getting like just ghosted?
Ghosted.
Why?
Because I think at that spot, it feels like I don't care enough about you as a person to have a conversation with you.
And I think also, just to throw my 2 cents in, unless you want to say more.
Well, I had just another thought.
Okay,
because, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I'm online dating and I never heard from this guy again and he randomly stopped talking to me. Like,
we're talking about straight up.
I'm talking about like, hey, I know you, we've had a conversation, and then you're just gone.
Or, hey, we've had multiple conversations. Yeah. We've even hung out once or twice before, and now you started acting like my boyfriend and then just disappeared.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Like that, where it's like,
go listen to our ghosted episode. It's really funny. It's all about how I've been
just kidding.
I've been ghosted quite a few times.
Same girl. And just, I think it's that aspect of like, even just me as a person, whether you want to be with me or not, that you didn't have the ability to say like, hey, this isn't something I'm interested in. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you just leave a lot of, I think that hurts almost more.
I think you hit the nail on the head there where you were saying like it was because they're not even considering you as a human being with feelings and thoughts, and you also don't have an opportunity to explain anything that might have set them off or made them not interested, you know, like whatever it was. Like I don't want to say defend yourself, but at the same time, it's like they deprive you of the opportunity to be like, well, can I explain my side if it was something I said, or like if it was something I did,
or did I do something? I think that's that you don't know the narrative, and so it's that like, oh, okay.
I almost thought it was getting friend zoned, but I think
what would you say?
Getting friends up. I mean, well, the way you explained it in terms of getting ghosted, where you're like, you're not your feelings as a human being and stuff aren't even considered.
Yeah.
I think that is worse, and I would agree with you, because at first I thought, well, getting friend zoned is pretty awful, but being friend zoned, I think starts like okay, Meryl, use your words. Getting friend zoned is the result of a lot of like confusion, misinterpreting the other person's behavior and actions, and sort of like coming up with your own story in your head, like, oh, maybe there's something here. And then, because then you get friend zoned because you probably were reading into it wrong the whole time. And that is what I used to say is me being, having a one-way ticket to Delulu Island. Cause I would like think of this, like I would view this person in such a way. Yeah. And then I would just assume that things were going to go a certain way because like, oh, I've done so much work on myself and I'm great. And I know that I'm like a woman of God, and I know that I know that I'll be a blessing to a man. And I know that about myself. I'm way more sure of myself than I was, before. And I have a lot more confidence. And, then you get friend zoned, but I think that's kind of like a shame on me kind of situation. Cause it's like the times that I have been friend zoned, absolutely was misinterpreting a lot.
Can I just say to the 7% though, real quick? Yeah. Please don't lead on to like, as men, please be aware.
She loves men.
I do love men, but also please be aware of your actions, because
that's true.
Like I do think there is this part, and yes, and just like with females too, sometimes our kindness can be taken as flirtatious. Where it's like, no, I was just being kind.
And there are guys who are like really just like genuinely like the nice guys, Yeah. And then they do nice things because they're really nice people. Guys. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, I think he might be into me. Right. And you're like, no, he's just being nice. He literally opens the door for everyone. Right. Not just you.
Right. And so, but then there are sometimes too where I have seen, and I've had friends who have been like, I would feel like I would be getting led on in certain situations. And then
don't be maintaining eye contact with those dreamy eyes for 2 seconds too long.
And don't be paying for my meals every time we go do something.
Yeah.
And don't text me throughout the day all day long.
That's
and then,
true. Yeah.
I mean, things like that where it's like,
we all do it to each other.
We do it to each other. But like, as a woman, to our 7%ers, just please be cognizant that to a woman because we like to be pursued.
That's true.
Like that we can sometimes take it as that.
Yeah, or if you're the traditional type of guy who likes to pursue it, we're not talking about chasing. Chasing is for children.
Yes.
Pursuing is for adults.
Yeah.
Has
intention behind it.
Yes. So yeah, that's what she's saying. And
Yeah.
we're saying that knowing fully well 7%, we know. We're fully aware that we do it too.
Yeah. I'm not belittling that we do it too.
Yeah.
100%.
So, something that I read in a Devo on relationships said, of course, I didn't list the Devo. So sorry. But it said, sometimes it's not that people are rejecting you. They're rejecting God who is in you. That sounds like a Craig Groeschel thing to say.
It does.
am probably right. And it says they might not name it.
You go, I'm probably right. I don't know why that made me chuckle.
Of course.
Okay.
They might not name it or know themselves. That is why they're rejecting you, but that's what they're doing because they don't understand it and they don't know how to handle it. And then I also made a note that said, you told me once, Maria, and you were probably quoting a pastor because I've heard this before several different places, but that those who don't understand your value will mishandle you.
Mm-hmm.
That was, okay. As you guys have known, as I've shared about my dating, what do you even call that? My dating trials, escapades, adventures.
I was going to say endeavors.
Journey.
Adventures. Escapades. I like escapades.
Okay. But I have explained and discussed a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
That I've experienced. And honestly, that was really, really surprising to me. And I mean, just with like the shock of dating apps and stuff like that. I mean, when you come out of a 10-year relationship and all of a sudden there's all this technology where people have so much more access to you and you have so much more access to other people and stuff, like, man, I was getting rejected right and left and I was so confused. So confused.
I have a question for you on that. Do you think that the more rejection occurs, that it's harder to like hold your value as an individual?
I think it can be. And I think that if it does, then you shouldn't be dating.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because if you think about it, take this in the aspect of like a professional sense. You get rejected over and over and over and over and over again. Does that mean you're just going to be like, what?
I'm not going to go to work anymore?
I'm not ever going to work. Okay, some people will do that. And some people are perfectly fine to live on like state assistance and stuff. But the average person is going to go, okay, I got rejected. It's just the right thing's going to come along. Something's going to work out. And in the meantime, I can find like a temporary type of job, something like that will, work out. And usually that rejection sort of, I don't know, for more highly driven individuals, not to say myself, but to say myself, I use that as just fuel to keep going. It's like, okay, well then I can just go ahead and keep sharpening the skills that I have. I know that there's something for me. I can't let this weigh me down because if I'm getting weighed down by the rejection of jobs and stuff, then I'm distracted by it and I'm not opening myself up to other potential opportunities. You know what I mean? It's like I'm keeping my eyes forward rather than, okay, they rejected me. They're stupid, whatever. This is, and if you're taking that approach, I'm not saying I did this in dating because I was, it's why I got off the dating apps because I was not handling it very well. And then, I just felt the Holy Spirit tell me that I was going to meet my person in person. And so so I think that if that is how you view rejection, then you should not be dating. You should be taking that time, healing, working through stuff, because you do need to create kind of a barrier there that's like
a little tough skin.
Yeah, you need to be able to handle it because guess what? If there's anything that we are sure of, it's that life throws some really crazy crap at you and you cannot expect it you're not going to somebody's not going to be there all the time to pick you up off your feet, fix your problems for you or anything like that. And a lot of people, start out in life with that never happening to them. No one's ever helped them out, but
And I think too, we really romanticize relationships, as in, once I get in one, I'm never going to feel rejection again.
Well, they view it as a destination rather than
and it's
the
like
start of just a different journey.
I can think of, even in the dating process, and even in when I was married, and then in the dating process now, even when there are people, you still feel rejection. Even having a spouse, like I am married to you, and still feeling rejection just out of human beings being human beings.
Yeah.
Take out what happened in my marriage. When our marriage was good, I would still feel it at some point, in a way of like, probably should have prioritized this different. I don't feel like I was as much of a priority as what I should have been. I mean, like we face it all the time.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and admittedly, I think that that's something that I had done too, like just had been operating in that way.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Sure.
Okay, so fear of rejection in any capacity is very real for a lot of people, like fearing being rejected. And it can honestly be incredibly paralyzing. What would you say to those listening who fear rejection?
I mean, I guess I can just continue the tirade I was just on. Well, no, it wasn't a tirade. It was more of a tangent.
What's the difference between a tirade and a tangent?
If you're on a tirade, you're like raging about something.
Oh.
A tangent is like you're going off topic. You're kind of veering off the subject. I suppose I should have said rant.
Maybe, hop on the same rant. Continue, I guess, is maybe what I'm asking you to do.
Words are hard today. Did I say that before? I think I did.
Rant on.
Okay.
It's Chipotle Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Chipotle, you can sponsor us too.
Chipotle.
We spend enough money on food there.
I would hate.
We spend enough food.
I should probably save all my receipts from Chipotle in a month and see what I spend at Chipotle in a month.
No, don't ever do that.
It's part of my grocery budget, though.
Do you know what I used to do? I used to do that when I would go to bars. I would just stick the receipts in my bag and in a pocket, and then I would like take them out periodically and
add them
count
up?
it all up. And I'm like, look how much money I spent. For what? For a bad time? Gosh. So anyway, what I would say.
Yeah, what would you say to someone who like fears rejection itself?
Listen here, me to you. If you fear rejection, I get it. Like I get it. It's horrible. Nobody wants to. I mean, it's a very real thing. So I won't sit here and say, "Oh, you need to."
Like it doesn't suck to feel it.
Yeah, no. I would like to say suck it up, but it's really hard, and I've experienced it myself, and I still do at times. I'm still terrified about getting rejected for any number of things. Rejected. Yes. Did I say ejected? Oh, my gosh. My brain is not doing so well.
I feel like I'm going to be like, ejection seat.
That was good.
Thanks.
Some good sound effects.
Thank you. None of those were provided by Byron.
Yeah, none of them. Not a one.
Not one. Right,
okay, but yeah, me to you, person who fears rejection. I will say I guess the only thing that I would say is I would like to pose a question to you, and that is, do you want things to stay the same, or do you actually want change? And if you want things to stay the same, then go right ahead. Do everything that you've been doing to avoid the potential fear or the potential for rejection. Go ahead and do that. But guess what? Nothing's going to change. And you will probably continue to wonder why this is happening to you. Yeah. Because God does that a lot. He sends you the same things over and over and over until you figure out, like, I need to heal this.
Yeah.
Or I need to change this about myself. I need to ask God to change my heart, how I view this, how I perceive what is happening. Because sometimes your rejection isn't, you being rejected might not even be getting rejected. It's you're not perceiving it correctly.
Right. Or you're looking at it through old wounds, or because of what somebody else did to you.
Yeah, because not everything is, that's coming at you is like, because there's perceived rejection, right? Like somebody may just be like, I don't want to hang out with you. And that doesn't mean they hate you as a person. Like, this isn't very common in dating. It's like if somebody just tells you, hey, I'm not interested, I wish you the best of luck. That doesn't mean that they think you're an awful person.
Right.
They just didn't feel the chemistry. And guess what? They had the decency to tell you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, you're not, that's something that I would tell myself a lot was like, I am not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not. And that's, it has to be okay. Like, I have to be okay with that.
And I also think too, if you feel like you have to be for everyone, then you're not being true to yourself in a way. You know what I mean? Then it's like, then I'm chameleoning to every situation that I'm in.
Yeah. Go listen to the people pleasing or the performance mentality episode.
Right there. Well, and can I tag on to something that you were saying in there? And I think that, like you were saying, okay, crap, I just lost my thought.
Well, I can read the scripture while you gather yours.
Okay.
If you'd like.
Go ahead.
1 Samuel 8:7 says, do everything they say to you, the Lord replied, for they are rejecting me, not you. They don't want me to be their king any longer. So that's just something else to think about. Another way to look at it, as probably Craig Groeschel said.
Well, and I think too, sometimes I know I've struggled because just being brought up in faith and like trying to live a life of Christ for a long time. And this is something I think we don't necessarily talk about a ton in America, or we haven't had to until as of recent, but even like being rejected for your faith or being set aside or looked at, canceled, being looked at oddly for your faith, being called things that you aren't out of misunderstanding. And so I think that's something that, like the enemy uses to try to get us to quiet up.
Yeah. To quiet up.
Quiet back.
Quiet down. As a frustrated parent would say, quiet down over there.
Quiet down. Sit down. But just when you read that scripture, it made me think of how you were just talking about its perspective, right?
Especially with your faith. Like
especially
that
with your faith.
Definitely, that's what that's
So it's like,
talking
if
about.
somebody doesn't want to be around me because of the way I set my morals, I should take that as an honor.
Because of the way I set my boundaries based on my faith. Or based on,
Yeah, those different things. Then I should not look at that as like, oh, maybe I'm too strict or maybe I'm whatnot. It's like, oh, no. Like, Lord, what an honor that I'm being rejected because that. And I think too, I forget there's another verse, but it basically was like, they hated me and a servant's not like past his master. So like, good luck.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we shout out to our perfectionism episode or performance mentality episode of, and I've said this too, and I've heard it said, Jesus lived perfectly. Like, if you want to get everything right so people love you and never reject you, Jesus lived perfectly and they hated him and they killed him at 33. So good luck making it past 33 if you get everything right and you live perfectly and you love perfectly and you do everything to a T. Good luck not facing rejection, because he did it and people hated him.
Yeah.
So whatever that's worth.
Well, it's worth a lot.
It's worth a lot. It is worth a lot. I don't know. I just have lots. And I think one thing that's funny with rejection is it always pops up when you least expect it. And in ways too, especially like if you have old rejection wounds and different things, little things that aren't even rejection can make you be like, no one's thinking about me. There's this, and it can pop up and it's like
very easy to get into that.
Like, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what happened at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know that's like a whole nother tangent we could go on. I know we could probably have 18 episodes of rejection and talking about different stories and different things.
I'd rather not
from it, but
yeah, this is just going to have to suffice.
Yeah.
I think.
So this is kind of us cracking the case on rejection. Let us know what you guys think. Do you have any other thoughts on rejection?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think we've said our piece. Short and sweet today.
Short and sweet. Let us know what you think. Tell us your rejection stories.
Yeah, hope you liked it. If you didn't, cool.
If you want to reject us, okay. No, I'm just kidding. Please don't, but stay safe.
We will go find somebody else in our sandbox to play with. All right? Okay.
Well, all right. We'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.